The average American weighs approximately 190 pounds. The average American also consumes nearly 200 pounds of white flour each year. This means that the average American consumes nearly his or her own weight in white flour annually. There are 400 different types of flour grown in the U.S. alone, but white flour is by far the highest consumed and the highest health risk. Many people use carbs to produce energy, but what they don't realize is that whole grain contains just as many, if not more, carbs with additional fiber, all without the health risks. Today, I will explain to you how white flour is produced, its health risks, and how to make better choices. In order to understand the risk of consuming white flour, you must first understand the dangerous methods through which it is produced. White flour is not truly white. Benzyl peroxide, commonly known as bleach, is used to alter the naturally unappealing yellowish color of the wheat. This exact product, benzyl peroxide, is a primary ingredient in the popular acne treatment product, Proactive. The yellowish color of the wheat would fade naturally if given time, but wheat farmers find this to be far too expensive and instead add additional chemicals to artificially age the wheat so that they can get a longer shelf life and better baking results. Bleach is a toxin. Bleach is in white flour. Therefore, white flour is a toxin. In the milling process alone, virtually all of the vitamin B and vitamin E are stripped. The vitamin E protects your body from harmful effects of toxins and carcinogens, and vitamin B aids very strongly in metabolism. This occurs because of the removal of the wheat germ in the bran. I'd now like to show a brief video which will better explain this.
Flour. How do they make white flour? The first thing they do with that grain of wheat is to strip the outer shell off it. It's called the bran, because that leaves little brown specks in their flour, and we certainly couldn't have that. The next thing they remove is the germ. That contains all the nutrients, but that gums up their machinery and turns rancid, so you can buy wheat germ in the health food store. It's supposed to be something that's good for you. What they have left, after all of this processing, is the endosperm. They grind it into a very fine powder, but it's not white enough for them, so they bleach it with something like Clorox. Aren't you looking forward to your next hamburger bun? So now they have this very fine white bleached powder with no fiber and no nutrition, and they can't put that on the label. So what do? They introduce some coal tar, artificial chemical vitamins within it. These are coal tar vitamins. They're not the real thing. The body can't utilize them properly. But now on the package they can put vitamin this and vitamin that, and in big bold letters on the package they can say enriched. Enriched what? Well, enriched poison is really what it is.
The result of this process is the white bread, which contains only poor quality proteins, and fattening starches. Once bleach is added to the flour, it's stripped of an abundance of essential nutrients. This can be as high as 50% calcium, 80% iron, and 98% magnesium. Once the flour is shipped to companies of cereal, bread, and many others, it's very difficult to do this without mice, rats, and other insects crawling inside of it. The white flour companies are not required to use insecticide because if an animal attempts to eat the white flour, it will die upon consumption. White flour serves as a natural insecticide because it kills any insect that attempts to live off of it. Insecticide is poison. Flour is essentially an insecticide. This would make flour a poison. The dangerous production of white flour is the primary cause of its health detriments. Energy that is produced from the wheat causes the pancreas to produce more insulin than necessary due to a sudden rush of sugar. This causes an increase in blood sugar. We know this is unhealthy. We also know this is an effect of white flour. Therefore, we know white flour is unhealthy. Digestion of this product is also particularly difficult. Once it's mixed with the acids of the stomach, it creates a paste-like substance. This substance can stick to the walls of the intestines and create potential health problems. Another toxic chemical found in white flour is alloxan. This chemical destroys the beta cells of the pancreas. These particular cells are programmed to release insulin. If they are impaired, diabetes can begin to develop. In fact, researchers who are studying diabetes use this chemical to induce this disorder on lab animals. The FDA and the white flour industry could counter-argue that if Alaxon were to cause diabetes, there'd be a higher proportion of Americans who are diabetic. This is a valid statement, but it does not disprove the connection between Alaxon and diabetes. Alaxon is not the only cause for the onset of diabetes, but it is found in white flour, and therefore white flour can cause diabetes. All of these dangers are easily avoided by staying away from white flour whenever possible. People who count carbohydrates are often concerned about the higher amount found in whole grain. Well, this is only at face value. Once the nutrients are depleted from the white flour, it's left with a very high content of refined sugar. This correlates to a study done by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which revealed that if two people are consuming identical amounts of carbohydrates, the person who consumes the food with the least amount of sugar will lose weight, while the other will not. This means that someone who consumes white bread will lose less weight than someone who consumes whole wheat bread, regardless of the carb content. Many times we limit our idea of white flour to white bread, but this is not the case. We don't realize white flour is also in cereals, pizza doughs, pasta, bagels, donuts, pretzels, and so many others. But there are so many other alternatives to white flour. Even a bread with a low value of whole grain is far better. Making better choices is simple and helps you to live a healthier and subsequently longer life. Today you have learned about the hazardous production of white flour, the dangers of consuming it, and how to make better choices for yourself. So the next time you're at the grocery store or the deli counter, I hope you'll make a choice that will help protect your health and your life. Thank you.